Tuesday, March 25th. And what I'd like to do first, in terms of the call to order, is to welcome our new members. We have 3 new members on the library board tonight. We have Trustee Brian Bartlett, welcome. We have Trustee Srini Shirakuri, welcome. And we have Trustee Kathy Crawford, welcome. Also tonight, we have a guest. We have Attorney Tom Schultz. I really want to make sure that we're in compliance with Robert Rules and OMA. Because I'm interim president at this time, I just felt comfortable to invite Attorney Schultz to be here with us to make sure that we're on track and we're doing the right thing. So welcome. And with that, I would like to call for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United
States of America and
and
to
the republic for which it
stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Trustee Yu, can you please roll call us in, and then everybody make sure, I think you have to state the county, city, and state as well. Is that correct, Trustee Yu?
Correct.
All right, you kick us off.
All right. Trustee Bartlett.
Yes, Brian Bartlett, Novi, Oakland County.
Trustee Chirukuri. Correct me if I'm right.
No problem. Novi, Michigan. Novi, Oakland County, Michigan.
Trustee Crawford.
Kathy Crawford, Oakland County, Novi, Michigan.
Trustee Dooley.
Kat Dooley present, Oakland County, Novi, Michigan.
Trustee Mishner.
Tara Michener, Novi, Michigan, Oakland County.
Trustee Wood.
Present, Oakland County, Novi, Michigan.
Trustee Yu, I'm present, Novi, Michigan, Oakland County. Student Representative Chang.
Sarah Chang, Oakland County, Novi, Michigan.
Student Representative Tangarella.
Novi, Michigan, Novi, Oakland County, Michigan.
Great,
Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to ask if there's a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Yes, Trustee Mishner, you raised your hand.
I did. Thank you so much. I just had a quick, am I unmuted? Yes. I just had a quick clarification.
Okay.
I don't have anything extra to add or anything to the agenda, but I did want to make a clarification that I sent an email to you and Julie to make sure that we mention the violence and hate around the Asian American Pacific Islander situations that have been happening in our world. So I did want to make us aware of a statement that maybe we could put together, and I'm happy to put that under DEI. But I noticed it wasn't in the packet, and I did put that out there, so I'm happy to put it under DEI. I just want to make sure it's noted.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Trustee Crawford, you also had your hand raised.
I was just going to approve the motion.
Oh, okay. So do we have a second to approve the agenda as presented?
A second.
All right. All in favor? We'll do a roll call vote. So Tori, you have to do a roll call for us, please.
Absolutely. Trustee Bartlett.
Aye.
Trustee Chirukuri.
Aye.
Trustee Crawford.
Yes.
Trustee Dooley.
Yes.
Trustee Mishner.
Yes.
Trustee Wood.
Yes.
Trustee Yu. Yes.
Great, thank you. Next up is the consent agenda. Hopefully everybody had time to review everything. What I'd like to ask is if there's a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda as presented, or if you have any questions. No? Is there a motion to approve consent agenda as presented? Trustee Crawford, you're making the motion?
Yes.
All right, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Trustee Yu, please do the roll call vote.
Trustee Bartlett.
Aye.
Trustee Chirukuri.
Yes.
Trustee Crawford.
Yes.
Trustee Dooley.
Yes.
Trustee Mishner.
Yes.
Trustee Wood.
Yes.
Trustee Yu. Yes.
Great. Motion carries. Tonight we don't have any presentations. So up next is our student representatives report.
Okay, so this is the February 2021 Library Board Student Representative Report by Tarun, myself, and Mrs. Gochard. So for the tween and teen library programs, there was the Between the Pages Tween Book Club Trivia, which is held on February 24th, and guests read Zora and Me by Victoria Bond and answered questions relating to the book, and attendance was 9 people. And for the Teen Space update, due to the executive order, it is not open at this time.
So for the Teen Advisory Board tab update, the 6th Teen Advisory Board meeting of the 2020-2021 school year was held virtually via Zoom on February 19th. The meeting kicked off with an icebreaker in which teens stated their names, grade, and school, and the last book they read. After the icebreaker, members discussed the submissions for the virtual teen talent show. Members are investigating if they have enough content to compile into one video. Members also discussed programming ideas and prizes for the summer reading program. The remainder of the meeting was used to discuss next month's agenda and group activity. The attendance for the tab meeting this month was 16. For the upcoming programs, we have the tween and teen and adult grab and go craft kits for the Seashell Wind Chimes on April 12th, the Between the Pages Tween Book Club Trivia on April 21st, and the Teen Advisory Board meeting on April 23rd. And if you look at the picture, what we have at the Teen Stop is in honor of Black History Month. The February Teen Stop display featured young adult fiction books written by African American authors. And that's all for our student representative report for February.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated. All right, great. Next up is the president's report. There's really not much to go over except that I wanted to let everyone know that right now is the beginning of our nomination process for the next group of officers. So Secretary Yu sent out a communication. You should have all received that. Please let Director Farkas know if you haven't, though, just because we want to make sure everyone's technology is working as far as your email addresses. In which case you'd be able to, put your name in for officer roles, which will be voted in on the April meeting. So I just want to let everyone know that. Next up is the treasurer's report. Trustee Wood.
Okay, just for the sake of the new board members here, I'll be providing highlights of the budget as you'll see on pages 23 through 35. So I give a really high level view of this. Feel free to connect with me one-on-one after the meeting if you have any questions that you want to go into more detail. But to give the report for February 2021, we have an approved budget for Fund 268 for fiscal year 2020 through 2021 with a total revenues of $3,123,886. That's against expenditures of $3,167,505, looking to consume $43,619 of the Fund 268. For Fund 269, fiscal year 2020 through 2021, we have an approved budget that has total revenues of $46,500 with total expenditures of $51,050, looking to consume $4,550 of the Fund 269. As of year to date, February 28th, 2021 through that date, for Fund 268, we've had total revenues of $3,169,518 against total expenditures of $1,868,487. Right now, that leaves us $1,301,031 in net, which looks really strong for us for this fiscal year. For Fund 269, our revenue and expenditures report as of February 28th, 2021 had total revenues of $17,352 against expenditures of $6,138 for a positive net of $11,214. Where we stand right now with Fund 268, as of February 28th, our ending fund balance is at $3,563,824. And our ending fund balance for Fund 269 is $1,718,193. Any questions, comments? Srini?
Hi, Deb. It's a newbie question here, and if it's better to take it offline, feel free to tell me. Just curious, so is that 3.5 million that 268 ends up with, is that like a accumulated surplus over the years?
Correct, yes.
Okay, and so we'll likely end up, okay, so it should be a positive number even at the end of the fiscal year.
Correct, yes. Yeah, so if you look at the approved budget, the budget that we have stands would consume 43,000 of that fund balance there. But if you look at where we're trending right now, which is the revenue and expenditure report, as of February 28th, you can already see that our revenues have exceeded the budget, and our expenditures are trending below that. So I expect that we should be, if we do consume any of that budget, it'll be much smaller than that 43,000.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, back to you, President Dooley.
Thank you. Thanks, Trustee Wood. Up next is the director's report. Director Farkas?
Hi, everyone. Okay, I'm just going to go through just a couple things for you, starting on page 34. And we always recognize our years of service with our employees. And for the month of April, we are recognizing Robin Dirks. She's with our Support Services Department as a shelver, and she's been with our library as of April, 8 years. So congratulations to Robin. At the bottom of that page, you'll see some information about April being Financial Wellness Month. And for many years now, Novi Library has worked with our state in order to provide financial literacy information and usually a children's book where we can work with young people and do some education around finances, even with our littlest readers. And this year, the book is called Give It by Cinders McLeod. This is with usually the Federal Reserve Bank, but they are not a partner this year. The state of Michigan decided to take it on their own because the Federal Reserve was just doing virtual, and Michigan libraries wanted to do a little more outreach than that. So they took it on and spun it a little bit just to the state itself. And there was a call out for Michigan libraries to send in an order to see how many books they'd like delivered to their libraries. There was an order of 8,000 and close to 100 libraries in the state of Michigan. Novi serves as the hub to receive that order of books that comes in, and then utilizing the delivery service through TLN, our library network, and Rides, which is the state's rides or delivery service. We're able to get those books out to all of these public libraries in Michigan to share this book and to do some financial literacy programming around it. So our programs, as you can see, will be coming up in April. We're going to be hosting April 15th and 16th, I believe the days are, for some grab and goes. And a huge thank you to Community Financial Credit Union locally, because they helped with, as you can see the photos, with the packaging of books. They were the volunteers from our community, as well as Vibe Credit Union. Both credit unions have provided some giveaways and to be part of these financial literacy programs that we'll be hosting for the Novi community. But it's a wonderful partnership, and it's an opportunity to get books into the hands of young people about financial literacy and to get these books across the state of Michigan. So we're always very happy to be part of this program and to support it. Also, our Lieutenant Governor videoed reading the book, and it's being shared for the month of April. So we're excited that we did get that type of notoriety from him and support in order to be doing this program. Any questions about that? Okay. Moving forward, I have included for you some information that I shared with the Finance Committee. We put out for 3 quotes locally for the lending library kiosk in order to have the wrap designed and to move forward with getting that ready for installation in May. And 2 out of the 3 companies provided quotes. You have them in your packet. We did honor the quote, the lower quote in terms of cost, and it went to Image 360 right here in Novi. So I wanted to provide that to you. We're now just had a meeting yesterday, Dana and I, just to get started with some preliminary conversations about design work and what that will look like. And we'll be happy to bring you that type of information as it develops. So moving along with that project, and still the date for the kiosk is to plan for the week of May 17th in order for the installation, and then hopefully some kind of program that would wrap around getting people out there and connecting them. Then following, just for our new board members, typically I don't go through the whole thing just because there's a lot of information, but provided you some COVID update information about how the building's doing in terms of usage. I've also included some information about e-newsletters that have gone out just to keep you in the loop on different programs and different information coming from the state and what we're following. We continue to be in phase 4 with now a recommended use of the building at 1 hour. We have put a little bit of seating out, so, and definitely social distance, 1 chair per table, but giving people an opportunity if they choose and need to stay a little longer at the building if they are comfortable. We've also lowered our amount of quarantining down to 48 hours. We have not found that there's been a trace or a concern with materials and the virus. We know that it's more an airborne concern. So we've started to lessen and just lower things so that as the governor makes changes, hopefully we can move, you know, in a positive direction with also our movement to what I hope will become a normal, which I'm not sure what that is yet, but to be moving forward into having more usage of the building over the next few months. I plan for April to bring you some information because the governor's keeping a date of April 19th right now for just where she's keeping things in our area. And so I've been having meetings with our managers and different staff, you know, getting their comfort levels for what will look like for programming and different opportunities to be reaching out to the community. And I'll be bringing you some information and data in April for that so that we can have some good conversations. I included our facilities report. This is just some information that I get from our facilities department as well as our IT department, our information services department. You can see some great photos and statistics that have been included all the way through to page 67, where our support services department gives you all of our statistics and usage right now of the building. And then on page 77, we have the historical commission as well. Thank you, Trustee Dooley.
You're welcome. Does anyone have any questions? All right, moving on. Next up is matters for library board action. The first item on the agenda is to consider amendment to the holidays policy, which is the HR policy regarding Juneteenth based on a memo from Director Farkas. And before I turn it over to the board for motion and discussion, I wanted to ask if Director Farkas had anything to add with regards to that item.
Thank you, Trustee Dooley. I would just like to take a moment to apologize to Trustee Mitchner and the board, because last month there was miscommunication on my end in terms of giving some information to you when we were talking about the Juneteenth date and how it was understood. I understood it as a closure, and then as I was looking at information that was quickly by me, I misspoke to you in terms of giving you some information. So I do want to apologize for that. I've given you some explanation as to some of the documents that once the meeting was over, I referred back to, went back to an email and communications that were used. And that's why I brought back tonight the information with the holidays policy for you to have further discussion on for the Juneteenth. So again, I apologize for that information. I should have asked for some time to review some information prior to speaking.
Yes, Trustee Mishner, go ahead. Oh, you're on mute. I'm sorry. You're on mute. Yeah, go ahead.
It's funny because you hear your own voice, so you're like, everybody else hears it too, right? Thank you so much. I do appreciate the apology. I think, you know, it's for me, but I think it's also for the community that wants this date to be a paid holiday. You know, when we brought this forth in the beginning in June, it was a commitment to the Black community with the understanding that Black people were not free on the 4th of July. And this was a unanimous vote to make it just like the 4th of July. There was clarification that was reached later to make sure that it wasn't a staff development day or in-service day or anything of that nature. It really is just like 4th of July, because there was questions that first day on June 25th, if this is similar to Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And at that time I said no, because, you know, on 4th of July, we have barbecues and things of that nature. We don't sit and have education, although education's awesome. I gave clarification at that time, but it did come back, you know, could we look at certain days for this and certain days for that? And at that point, we were very clear, no, this is just like 4th of July. When I brought things back last month, I was really clear because I realized that if it wasn't put to a vote as soon as possible to make sure that it truly was considered just like 4th of July, that we run the risk of the motive changing or the purpose changing. And I think that that's very detrimental to the trust of the Black community and those who support the Black community and also just support diversity and history as well. It's not just, even though it's celebrating something that happened to Black people, we can celebrate everybody in that way, right? So I felt like it was important to bring that in the proper way to the board. At that time, it looked like it was going in the direction that it would be something that was approved. I didn't want to just go from my memory because, you know, we do have a lot of things in our head, and I know I do. I've got a 7-year-old virtually schooling, so I'm not going to try to remember everything. So what I did was I went back to the transcript to make sure I was clear and as thorough as possible. So I'm going to read that. And I have people's names noted. So it says Julie. So imagine a colon there. I do believe it was a typo, Trustee Bitchener is correct. It is noted on other information I have with me and in front of me that it is a holiday. Trustee Wood, colon. If that is the case, is there a motion to be made then? President Augusta, colon. The motion is to have it as a paid holiday. Jeff interrupts. Maybe I'll reference back to Julie. Is it a paid holiday or is it just a holiday with time off? Julie, I understood when it was being approved in the summer that it was a paid holiday. President Augusta, colon. So it's just a typo. Julie, colon. I think so. Trustee Wood, colon. So back again, is there a motion? Is there something even to vote on at this moment in time? President Augusta, colon. There is not, except for Julie to make it a red H. So it is going to be noted as a paid holiday in our next packet. There was more discussion over the need for a motion. I asked both the attorney that was here at the time, which was Ann from Foster Swift at that time, not you, Tom, but it was Ann from Foster Swift. I said, okay, and I'll read what I said. I'd like to get clarification, if I may, Madam President, which at the time was President Augusta. She said, yes, please. And I said, I'm okay with withdrawing it as long as we're all clear it is a paid holiday. President Augusta said, yes. Everybody nodded. This would not come back. I said, okay, thank you very much. President Augusta, colon, Julie has said that it is a typo, will be listed as a paid holiday in the future. When you have something that clear, I don't know if there's really a mistake, you know, that can be noted. Like, that's super clear, especially the words actually said, I understood it to be a paid holiday in the summer. So I have to say that I'm really hoping that we take the optics of this really seriously. It doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. I think that this coming back a third time was dismaying for me, especially thinking that this is something that we covered already. So when it comes to matters for board action, I think it's extremely important that we think about DEI work. That's one of our focuses this year, right? Like, I'm the chair of that committee. We're really, we should be passionate about it, with our motto being inform, inspire, include. It looks like our Black community has had to restate things several times in order to be heard, and then it's brought back again and again and again. It doesn't feel good. So my thoughts is definitely, if we are going to put that to a vote, I would hope that I can implore us to vote as a paid holiday, like every other holiday that is actually on the calendar that is paid. Every other holiday is paid except for this one. That's stated as a holiday. So I'd like that to definitely be considered. It sounds like it needs to go to a vote to make sure it's ironclad, but I do think that's really important. I was dismayed to see this in the packet. I'll tell you, I was just dismayed.
Thank you, Trustee Mishner.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. So typically, how we've done our board meetings before is we bring a motion forth, if it's seconded or not, and then we have discussion. But Trustee Mishner, you started off the discussion. I'd like to keep that going before a formal motion's made, if you're okay with that.
Sure.
All right. So who wants to go next as far as my trustees on the board? Does anyone want to raise their hand? Trustee Crawford, go ahead.
Okay. The way I'm understanding this, if it's just for discussion now, had I been here at the last meeting and heard everything, I'm really concerned about all the, I'm new to the budget, so I'm new to the whole packet thing, and budget's not always my strong suit. But when I looked at page 23 of the budget, I was very concerned about all the lost revenue on page 23, which amounted to over approximately $90,000, upwards of $90,000. So in addition, the costs that we've had to incur that have to do with COVID, the additional PPE, and that's ongoing, and also the things in the library that have had to change, the shields and things like that, things that were not covered in grant money. And this is going to continue, and will definitely continue probably indefinitely here for the maybe the next 6 months or maybe even longer. We just don't know. So I can't justify adding an additional expense to the library when we don't even know what all of our losses are going to be. So it is an expense to add in paid holiday. I have no argument, and I have nothing to say about the value of the holiday. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about expenses right now. And it's just something that I can't really justify adding any kind of expense to the budget. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Trustee Crawford. Trustee Shirakuri.
Thank you. My concerns are sort of twofold. Had I been there last week, I might have said, well, let me start. One thing that really outraged me this year was when Black History Month came and Amazon Prime decided the best way to feature Black movies was to promote Coming to America 2, which they had underwritten, produced, and distributed. I always fear our holidays becoming, I hate to say it, not to impugn the company, but another chance for ABC Warehouse to have a sale. In this case, by closing down the library on Juneteenth, honestly, the schools are already closed, or at least the kids' minds are largely shut off there for summer. By closing the library too, my personal preference would have been, that's a great day to really feature what this thing means, the importance of the Emancipation Proclamation and our other seminal documents to our country. But now a student will grow up in Novi, and neither at the schools nor here would you actually ever see on Juneteenth anything about Juneteenth. That's just my personal opinion. Again, it's, as Trustee Crawford said, it's not to the lack of importance of the day or what it means, but there are other considerations. And so one of those is I was looking at what our current offerings are for our employees. And, we have, in addition to 10 paid holidays, one of which is floating, 6 personal leave days, 12 sick days, and 10 to 25 days of vacation. And I think what you'll find is that vastly exceeds the offerings in the private sector and industry pretty much all across the state. In this year, and believe me, I appreciate all the hard work all the employees at the library have done, but this is a year where, if we're honest, in government, we've suffered a little less economically than the people in the private sector have. And so, it just doesn't look good this year, or to be adding benefits at a time when everyone else is trying to get by. And I believe as we have floating holidays, that does, and personal leave days, for the individual who wants to celebrate, it does give them the capacity to celebrate, whether it be Veterans Day, President's Day, the Constitution Day, Juneteenth, Gandhi Jayanti, other big holidays of personal importance or of importance. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Shirakuri. Anyone else? Trustee Bartlett.
Yes, I similar to the previous speaker, I looked at the holiday list. Currently, our employees get 10 paid holidays. As a new trustee, I'd like to see how that compares with other folks in the city and everywhere else. My last job, I worked for a fairly small company whose benefits were managed by ADP. They told us 10 was the standard in the US. And again, if we're looking to fund this and we want to make a motion that says we replace the floating holiday with Juneteenth, I have no problem. That makes the whole thing revenue neutral, where it is, if it's not revenue neutral, as the previous speaker indicated, this year we're down with revenue, all that sort of thing. The other thing, looking at the holiday list as a new person, I was a little bit shocked that 2 of the holidays that are normally somewhere in the private sector are not on our list. And those 2 are President's Day and Martin Luther King Day. Martin Luther King Day, I was told that the library thought that it was better because students are off, to promote Martin Luther King on that day than to close the library. But again, 10 holidays is a pretty standard package. I'd really like to see how that compares to other folks in the city before we say, okay, we're going to boost benefits. What do our firefighters see and so forth? Because, even though we are a separate entity, they are, city employees are kind of one group. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Yu or Trustee Wood, would you like to go next?
I'll wait till after the motion.
Okay.
In terms of comment-wise, I don't have any additional comments.
Okay, thank you. So right now we've had some discussion, and what I'd like to ask for is a motion, and the motion that's on the table, just to clarify for everybody, is whether or not Juneteenth is a paid or non-paid holiday. It is a holiday. The question on the table is whether it be paid or non-paid, and I want to make sure everybody's clear on that. So with that, does somebody want to make a motion? Trustee Mishner, please.
Thank you. And thank you for clarifying that it's already a holiday. That sounds like there was some confusion there. I would like to make a motion for Juneteenth to be approved as a paid holiday, just like 4th of July.
Thank you, Trustee Mishner. Do I have a second?
I can second that.
Thank you, Trustee Yu. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Wood.
Yeah, I'll take my time now that we have a motion to discuss my viewpoint on this. I do think, number one, there's a lot of value in this day off. I've been very vocal and voted to have the day off. I'm also strongly behind the DEI initiatives. I feel, though, it's prudent for us, because there is a cost to make this a paid holiday, that we should really focus what we would, instead of having this as an internal paid holiday, to use those funds for the community for DEI efforts. I think that's more important. I think that's really what our focus should be on. It should be supporting the community and bringing everyone together. And I think that those funds would be better suited for that than making it a paid holiday.
Thank you, Trustee Wood. So I'll go next or last, unless Trustee do you still not have any comments? You're good. Okay. So thank you everybody for giving your feedback and your comments. I was doing a lot of research when it came to Juneteenth because I think, like a lot of people in the community and beyond, they didn't understand the validity or the importance of the holiday. And I know that that's not being called into question today because that day is taken off, and we made that happen last summer with Trustee Mishner championing that. I'm a firm believer that the times are changing. There are a lot of companies that are developing this as a paid holiday and putting this on their package. There's also been a lot of support. It's almost 17 years now. I don't know if people are aware that Juneteenth has been recognized by the state of Michigan. It's not a formal holiday, but it has been recognized in terms of the importance of the celebration. And because the spirit of the holiday is independence and emancipation, it's supposed to be treated like July 4th. And with that, I still support the idea of it being a paid holiday like July 4th. That's why I'm in support of that. But I do appreciate everybody's feedback because all of it was important. So if there's no other further discussion, I'd like to call us on a roll call vote, please. Trustee Yu.
Absolutely. Trustee Bartlett.
No.
Trustee Chirikuri.
No.
Trustee Crawford.
No.
Trustee Dooley.
Yes.
Trustee Mishner.
Yes.
Trustee Wood.
No.
Trustee Yu, yes.
Okay, motion doesn't carry. Thank you, everybody. We're moving on to matters for library action number 2, which is to adopt the amendment of the B2 closure policy with updated language. Julie, do you have anything to add before we make a motion?
I do not. It was very simple language that just recognized that we call it an in-service and not a staff development day. And then it was changing the number to the word and third and calling out the staff development and the 2 holidays with 1 asterisk and 2 asterisks. So it was very simple changes.
Well and straightforward. Thank you, Julie. Can I have someone make a motion to approve? Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Trustee Mishner. Yes.
It's okay. I might be talking out of turn. So if I don't have the floor, it's okay to let me know I don't, and I'll wait until discussion.
Do you have questions on it?
I did have a question. Is that appropriate to ask now, or should I wait?
Yes, we can. So cadence-wise, I think we've been used to as a board always making a motion and seconding and then having discussion, but it's also compliant to have discussion before we have a motion. So please go ahead.
Thank you so much. I just want to make sure I wasn't talking out of turn. I think that's super important. I just want to know, what is the actual definition textbook difference between in-service and development? If I can just understand, because if there's really no difference, then I don't know why we have to update the policy. So I just want to make sure I understand what I'm saying yes to or no to.
It's actually just language that we use more informally and internally for the library. I don't see a difference in it, Trustee Mishner, to be quite honest, but I know that the language of what the staff uses, and if they see in service, they understand it better. That has been language we've used in our library. So I think it'll be easier for them just to know that an in-service is specifically for them in terms of training. So that's all. If this doesn't pass, it doesn't change, but we've always called it in-service. So that's why we felt when the committee met to really make the change to what we call it internally.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve that.
Go ahead, trustee. Oh, trustee, can you actually state the
Oh,
exact?
I'm sorry. Sorry. I make a motion to adopt the amendment to B2 closure policy with the updated language.
Thank you. Do I have a second? I
Second.
think I saw trustee Bartlett. Okay, great. And is there any further discussion? All right. Trustee, can you do the roll call vote?
Trustee Bartlett,
Yes.
Trustee Chakuri,
Yes.
Trustee Crawford,
Yes.
Trustee Dooley,
Yes.
Trustee Mishner,
No.
Trustee Wood,
Yes.
Trustee Yu, yes.
Okay, motion carries. At this time, we're moving into public comment. In order to hear all the citizen comments at a reasonable hour, the library board requests that speakers respect the 3-minute time limit. This is not a question answer session. It's an opportunity to voice your thoughts with the Novi Public Library Board of Trustees. And just to clarify with everybody, the packet still says Novi address, but that's inaccurate. This is a public meeting, so citizens must state their first and last name and their address. It doesn't have to be a Novi address, just to let everybody know that. So do we have anybody that is ready to speak to us? Calvin. Studio 6 or Calvin?
I've got Betsy Beaudoin. I don't want to mess up the name, but I'm allowing them to talk now.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, they're running on an earlier version of Zoom. I'll have to promote them to panelists momentarily.
Understood, thank you.
Yep.
Miss Beaudoin? If you're ready, you have the floor.
Hi, thank you so much for hearing from me. My name is Betsy Beaudoin. I'm a Novi resident. Do I need to give out my full address on the Zoom?
You do.
Oh, okay. Like publicly, we have to give out our full address? That surprises me.
Yeah, well, Tom, can you do some clarification for the public?
She can give the street address.
Okay,
Doesn't
so-
need to do the numbers.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'm like, that just seems really weird when it's like a public meeting.
No, great question. Thank you for clarifying,
That's
Tom.
actually not why I commented, but that is a second question, I guess. So I live on Cranbrook in Novi over in Village Oaks. So I just wanted to touch base because we watched the meeting last month and I was definitively under the impression that we had Juneteenth as a paid holiday. Ms. Farkas assured us that that was happening. And I am really disappointed that the board would not honor its word that was given to the residents as well as Trustee Mishner on this topic last month. So I'm not really sure how that came to be, but I just wanted to express my complete disappointment in what seems to be another really inappropriate action by this board. I really hope that you all can do better for the African American community in our city. Thank you.
Thank you. Calvin, is anyone up next?
I'll give them a moment in the attendees. I am not seeing any hands up, so it would appear that no one has anything to say.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on. Thank you everybody for attending.
Oh, sorry. Hold on.
Oh.
There is a hand raised by Jason Mishner right as soon as I finished. So I'm sorry to interrupt.
All right, sure, no problem. Is Mr. Mishner available? Mr. Mishner, go ahead.
Hi, Jason Mitchner. I live on Harrier Place. I really try to abstain from calling in for public comment since my wife is a trustee on the board. But I feel it is important to voice my opinion on what just transpired as a white male in the city of Novi and been a resident since 2004. That is abhorrent. There was a promise made for those members that were not present. You are not excused, trustees. Those minutes were read verbatim by Trustee Mitchner. You have the videos to review, as is your duty to review packets and information coming to you before the meeting. And there is absolutely no excuse for you reversing the decision promised and made to not just Trustee Mitchell and the board, but the public of Novi. And it is absolutely inconceivable for a board member sitting to tell the Black members of Novi that they know better how to spend their money when they have been asking since June of last year that Juneteenth be recognized as a paid holiday. The level of trickery and deceit is, I've just never seen it. It absolutely blows my mind and leaves me with a loss for words. And I do want to note that I am not the only voice, although I may have been the only one that was able to call in and speak. There are many, many others in the community of Novi that are probably just as shocked and horrified as I am. And I hold the entire board accountable. This is an egregious action by the board and a breach of trust of the public of Novi, especially when you just gave $5,000 away earlier, just a few meetings ago, to fund the cafe request that wasn't requested as a token of good faith, as somebody put it. And as a token of good faith, I would have thought you would have extended that good faith to the Black residents of Novi and said that you feel they are equal to anybody else and that their holiday is just as important, since they have been telling you that verbatim. I am deeply disappointed and sad, and this is a very sad day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mishner. Calvin, do we have more public comment?
We do. We have Paula Henry who just raised her hand.
Okay. Ms. Henry, please go ahead.
Hi, my name is Paula Henry. I live on Stonehenge here in Novi. I also want to add how disappointed I am with the outcome of the vote. I am very upset about it because you guys made a promise. You said one thing and now it's changed to another. I'm just very disappointed being, president of Parents of African American Students in Novi. You said that Juneteenth was a paid holiday. Now it's no longer a paid holiday. And so I just want to make sure that I put that on record, how disappointed I am as a member of the Black community. We've been going round and round about this. It's paid, it's not paid. Yes, it is paid. And now, I forgot the letter H, and now, it's something else. So I just want to just make it very well known how disappointed I am and with the lack of integrity that has been. Thank you to those trustees who did vote for it. I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Henry. Calvin, is there anyone else?
There is. I have someone who is going by the moniker Woods. I will make them able to talk now.
Okay, please go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful. My name is Duwan Woods. I live on the Berkshire Point, which is Berkshire Drive and Wixom Road. I have to say, listening to the discussion today, it's disappointing, I guess is the best way to put it, for so many reasons, particularly the trustees who are trying to say this is a financial issue. Trustee Crawford, in all due respect, saying that taking resources or putting resources towards staff to take Juneteenth off and that it's too costly, it's really insulting. I have to say, if we want to, and the other trustee said it, could you switch it to a floating holiday? And he would be for it. If that's all that it requires, then make it the floating holiday or put that up to a vote. And I think that's a fair compromise. In fact, I would say if that trustee who offered that suggestion, a very good idea, could be put on the floor, I think a lot of the residents, particularly the residents in this community who are concerned about these issues, and it's not just African Americans, by the way, it's a lot of our Caucasian allies, a lot of the folks in the Indian and Asian community who see what's happening in this country, and they recognize that unity is the most important solution to a lot of the problems that are impacting us today. So I just feel like there is an opening that the new trustee said, he said he would be open to considering this if it were a part of the float, switch with the floating holiday, and I would offer that as a compromise. And so that's all I have to say. But this was very disheartening to try to connect the finances of the library to a paid holiday when there's a viable solution that is out there. So I just leave it at that, and I hope you all reconsider your vote, and or at least add that opportunity for the board to switch it to the floating holiday. So thank you very much. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Woods. Calvin, is there anyone else?
I'm not seeing anyone else. I'll give them a quick 5 seconds because my track record's pretty bad, obviously.
Okay.
Seems good. I think we're good.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for participating. Now we're moving on to committee reports. The first committee report is for Policy Committee, which is chaired by Trustee Mishner.
Making sure I was off mute.
You are.
Thank you so much. Yeah, so we have had some communications. We haven't had a meeting just yet. Our directors had some vacations, but we have communicated quite a bit. Our director put forth a package for me and Trustee Dooley to look at in the absence of our former committee member not being here, and Trustee Dooley being the president interimly. She is going to be a part of our policy committee currently. So my updated schedule will get to me sometime tonight, and then we will be able to know when we can meet. So by the time we have the next board meeting, we should have some understandings. Some of the things that came across, I can say, I definitely wanted to get some clarification on. I am not at a first glance in favor, but I think a meeting will be really helpful. I think discussion and communication always helps. So I think that'll be good. So that's what we have for policy. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next up is HR Committee. Currently, we don't have a chair. So we don't really have an update at this time. The only update that you would have is before you in the packet with regards to the open position for the HR specialist. So if you have any questions, please let us know. Moving on is strategic planning. I'm chair of that committee, and there's no report of this at this time. Next up is building and landscape committee. And currently there is no chair of that committee. Trustee Wood is on that committee. I don't know if you want to do the update, but the update's in the packet for everybody if you have any questions. Trustee Wood?
Just a comment. You did skip the events and marketing.
Oh, I did?
Oh, yeah, I don't know if...
You guys, I did. I'm so sorry. What was I doing? I skipped a couple. Sorry, I'll circle back. So Finance Committee is the next one. That one is just Trustee Wood at this time, your chair.
And there's nothing to report.
Nothing to report, sorry. Events, marketing, fundraising, Trustee Yu, please,
Yes.
you have the floor.
Thank you, Trustee Dooley. Yep, so in terms of library or events that are attended by board trustees in the past month, Trustee Dooley, you did attend the AP, ALA, and the NNLM webinar, which is the Addressing the Stigma, Mental Health and Wellness Resources for the Asian Pacific American Communities. And then typically, I'm just going to mention this for our new trustees, during the events, marketing, fundraising part, so trustees that attends programming, they want mentioned here. If you can email Julie prior to the board meeting, that way she can include it into the board packet for transparency. Please do that. Before I went, Trustee Julie, was there anything you wanted to mention about that program?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. A lot of, what I learned, I'm actually going to be talking about when our DEI committee next meets. I attended that meeting because of, the current climate. I am Asian American, biracial. So I have a lot to say on that issue, and it was just nice to hear that perspective with regards to the mental health needs of the Asian community, because there really is a lot to unpack. But you know, I don't really have anything to report on that at length. I'm going to save that for my DEI colleagues when we meet next. I did want to bring up, though, I forgot that I attended the city's civility seminar as well, put on with the city. So I went to that event as well, which was really good. But that's all I have. Trustee Yu, do you have anything?
Nope, that's it. Thank you so much.
Okay. Strategic planning again, no report. Building and Landscape Committee, there is an open chair, but Trustee Wood, do you have anything you want to update us on?
You know, I think we all knew that we had to shut down a couple of days. We're having boiler issues, and you know those have been repaired, which is good. You know, that's one thing that we have discussed, I think, over and over is something that's a concern with the age of building right now, and the high price that we're going to have to do maintain it at its level. You know, now we're starting to see some issues, so we do need to be cautious. And obviously, we have a elevator that's looking for waiting for a part to repair. So we're getting into that phase with our building that we do have to start thinking about you know, the costs of maintaining it or fixing things as they break. So that's all I want to add.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Trustee Mishner.
Thank you so much. I wanted to pose a question to Jeff, representing the Building and Landscape. Sorry, Jeff, it's just you. Usually it would be to your committee. I just had a few questions, if that's okay with you. Oh, I see you nodding your head. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So and these might be things to think about that you might not be able to answer now, and that's totally fine. With the boiler issue, I know it did cost us some productivity. We talk about money and being good stewards, and I know that did cause us shutdowns where we weren't able to operate, and that also affects our finances, so I hope you care about those things. So a question I have is there a preventative maintenance schedule for the boilers, and was it being followed? That's one question. I have a few more. They kind of like piggyback a little bit. I'm wondering, was any action taken after the first boiler failed? Because I know that was a note that the first boiler actually failed, and we kind of relied on the second one. And I live with an engineer, so I know a little bit about stuff, a little bit enough to be dangerous. I don't have me fix anything, but I'm wondering if there was any action taken after the first boiler failed to inspect or otherwise ensure the health of the remaining boiler, because that would be our only fail safe, right? And then what was the actual cause of failure? If we know that would be really good to note. And are we sure that the issues will not be repeated? So those are a few things I had just regarding the boiler situation. Again, you may not have those answers right now. I know that you were a committee and now you're one person, but if you have them, that's awesome. If you don't, it's understandable. And if you could have those ready for maybe next month.
I'll be happy to do that for you.
Oh, I don't know. Okay, so you would have it instead of Jeff then?
Yes, I haven't put it together for Jeff, so I'll be happy to do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
But I'll make sure the whole board has it.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Julie.
Perfect. Thank you, Trustee Mishner.
Thank you.
Next up is the Bylaw Committee. So as it currently stands, there's no standing members on that committee. I am aware that a draft was under discussion last month, but because there is no committee members right now, that's stalled, and there's no further discussion at this time or report. So there's no action being taken right now, just so you guys know. Next up is Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion with Trustee Mishner as chair. Please take the floor.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. So I had a few things. We did have a meeting after the last, we had a committee meeting after the last board meeting. It was a day after, actually. Trustee Dooley was able to make it, and a few of our staff members. Barb was there. She got kicked out, unfortunately, from Zoom technology, right? We did have Gail, and we also had Marianne Zermulin present as well, and myself. Some of the things that came up was terminology in regards to DEI work, just making sure that we're saying the right words. They're not all interchangeable. Equity and diversity actually are not the same thing. Inclusivity is not the same thing as diversity. So you could have a board that looks diverse, but be absolutely not inclusive, right? You just have the numbers there. So just understanding different terminology and language. And we actually pulled that from our governing body of libraries. So that was really good to kind of talk through. Some of the things that were brought up was also focused on basically next steps, like where are we at now? Now, this is ironic and unfortunate, but one of the things that we kind of celebrated was that now we know for sure that Juneteenth is set. So that was something we discussed, but there's that. The next meeting is for the 30th of March. We also in email talked quite a bit. One of the things was a listening session. We did do a listening session for the new board members. And of course, like, was mentioned, you have information, you have packets and YouTube and things of that nature. So you probably know some of these things already. But we did have a really good listening session in October where we invited our community to talk about what was on their minds and how they felt about being patrons or guests in our library. And they were very frank about things. We had a big list of things that they'd like to see us improve when it comes to DEI work. We have not arrived, although our motto is inform, inspire, include. I'm confident that we can get there, but we did have work to do. So we talked about, like, at the next meeting, definitely making sure we're going down that list to see, do we tackle all of these things that people mentioned and where are we at in that work? We also talked about it being time for another listening session, especially as conversations continue. And obviously, we're seeing more opportunities for dialogue on these issues. I think another listening session being put into play soon would be really good because our last one was in October, which was last year now. I think that when we look at DEI work, from my perspective as chair and, just the background, I do have a multicultural counseling background. I write books on multicultural things related to mental health, trauma, things of that nature. We have to do better when it comes to how we actually work together instead of just being performative. So I think there's some frustration that came to me during that meeting about, like, are we just doing things? One of the questions was, the programs are great, but are we actually doing things in addition to that? Because programs were happening before there was a DEI committee. So that was actually said in the meeting, although our programs are amazing. So it's just something to look at. Bystander training is something that's out there. And Trustee Dooley, I think you might be a part of working on that. I'm not sure.
No, I think that's actually mistaken. I'm not a part of that initiative.
Okay, so that's something that was put out for us to talk about more. A book audit, I know April Stevenson is working on that to make sure that our books really represent our community, but also, they're encouraging to the people that come in to learn to be the window or the mirror. And for those of you who aren't familiar with that terminology, a window is when you kind of look into someone else's life that's not like yours, and a mirror is obviously looking at yourself. Seeing yourself in the book is really encouraging. But both are very important, and making sure that our library covers that in our collection. Outside of that, let me see. So there was some communication we got from the director that there was an email sent that unfortunately some of us did not see. Actually, none of us saw, except for the director. But it was in regards to LGBTQ plus, and really making sure that we're focusing also on that community and making sure that we are doing the work with the budget dollars that we have as well for that too. And I think that's really important. I wanted to state that in here because I wanted to make sure that even though that person that sent that email didn't hear anything from some of us, that she knows that we didn't see it until just recently. So we definitely are focused on making sure that that we look at accessibility in all forms and fashions. And I think that April covered a little bit of the safe space information last time. However, that is something that we need to bring to the DEI to understand better so we can all have a hand in implementing it and making sure it's a safe space and equity is included for everyone. So not just programs, but actions. Okay, let's see. And outside of that email, obviously we're getting a lot of letters. We're getting a lot of more letters than I've ever seen. I've been on this board for 7 years, and usually the letters are just like, wow, cool program, great books, And lately the frustrations have been about DEI and how we respond to them as a board. So just figuring out what we can do in regards to that, and is there a process that we want to follow for even returning them, because I think that we have to be really careful if one person sends an email and they get an email back right away, and then another group gets an email and they send an email and they never get responded to at all. I think there needs to be some kind of figuring out there. We don't want to seem like we're excluding people, and definitely not intentionally, if we can work on that. So that's something to consider as well. The Asian American statement of support. So when I think statements say a lot, and it was said when I asked for a statement actually, it was originally brought to us by President Augusta to have a statement for the George Floyd murder and how we could respond to that in June. And then after that, I was the one supporting it mostly, and then we didn't have it at all. And I think we have another opportunity here as a board to state that we are not for the hate that's happened in the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. And I just hope we step up in that way. What I would like to propose is that I take this to DEI, we construct something, maybe a few options, bring it back to the board and choose one that represents our board's thought on what's happening. I think that it was said before that actions speak louder than words, but right now I think we need to have both, and both are needed from us. So I would like to throw that out, as I think that could be something that could be brought back next month for a matter for board action. There's a lot of people that feel unseen and unheard, but they're hurting and they're attacked. And Novi is not an island. We are definitely a part of that. I see it, I feel it. So I think it's important for us to care. So that's what I like to throw out, again, in the effort not to be performative. So I made lots of notes. The last thing is there's a book club. Reading is education. We are a library. We like books. Julie recommended a book, and she's fast reader. She already finished it, but it's Uncomfortable Conversations with the Black Man. And Trustee Dooley offered to make a really great spreadsheet for us to encapsulate our thoughts in, just so we can kind of have a flowing dialogue. Before we did this, I had mentioned to the board it might be nice to read a book together to have some understanding, because there is education that could be used. I for sure am not absent from wanting more education on issues that I don't understand. That wasn't so well received by the whole board, so our committee decided to do that. But I still open it up if anybody else wants to read that book and get thrown in the spreadsheet. I think that I don't want to speak for you, Trustee Dooley, but I'm thinking you wouldn't mind that. More dialogue is usually better. And books are great, right? That's why we're here. So those are the things I have for DEI. The next date that we're meeting is the 30th of March. And I covered as much as I could, but I got to tell you, there's a lot of emails that went back and forth. So if I left anything off, charge it to my head, not my heart. We are busy in this committee. And unfortunately, I don't know, is that good or bad? I think there's just a lot of needs, to be quite honest with you. There's a lot of needs around DEI, and we're seeing them. We're not absent of those things. So thank you for the floor. Trustee Dooley, would you like to say something also as a member of this committee as well?
Thank you. I appreciate that. So Trustee Mishner did write, so I apologize that it wasn't in the board packet, but I also wanted to put on record with regards to the AAPI suggestion for a statement. I did write back. I don't know if you saw that communication. Trustee Mishner, did you receive that from me? My response to your question on the statement? That was via email.
I saw that you said that it would be great for DEI committee. Okay. I thought it was going to be in the packet.
Sure.
Okay.
So I wanted to give some notes on that as well. It was actually more in length. When it comes to the Asian American community, which I am a part of, there really is truly a lot to unpack, which is why I'm hoping to have those conversations in our DEI committee to talk about it. Because the biggest thing that we're dealing with in the Asian community is that historically, we have been taught in matters of race to be quiet and put our heads down and to just take the hate and to just take being told things to us in terms of microaggressions and things of that nature. I myself, because I'm Asian, but I don't necessarily present as Asian to a lot of people think they can say a lot of things to me. The other thing is mental health is truly like the biggest thing that that community is dealing with. Therefore, you know, what I had mentioned in my communications, that I really want us to be careful to not be reactionary. I still stand by that actions definitely are super important, but I do respect Trustee Mishner saying that words and actions are tied. I do. But definitely, I think we need to create capacity to have this dialogue. I think that we need to make sure that we talk with members of our community in terms of the Asian community in Novi about what they need and what they want in order for us to be able to help during this time. I think that's important. That was, on my end of things, that was a misstep last time, and I don't want to make that misstep again. I think the more we hear from the community at the beginning before we take action, to me, is really important. So I just wanted to make sure that that was on record. And then, you know, that's all I have to say on that. Yes, Trustee Mishner.
I do want to note that I have talked to several people that are part of the Asian American Pacific Islander community about this.
Thank you.
And I'm involved in several groups. So
appreciate that. Thank
I want to
you.
make sure that everyone knows that I'm not just throwing this out there because I think it's a good idea. I've actually educated myself with people from the community in Novi as well.
I appreciate that. Thank you. And I really look forward to you helping bring those conversations into DEI for us on their behalf. Thank you. Next up, we have communications. You have all those letters in the packet currently, so we're not gonna read them verbatim, but I just want to make sure that everybody does have them. They're included. Next up on the agenda is closed session. And in order to move into closed session, we do need a motion. The motion has to be specific according to what verbiage is listed in that packet under item number 1. So can I have a trustee make a motion to go into closed session? Yes, Trustee Crawford.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Madam Chair, the
Oh,
motion
yes,
needs, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Trustee Crawford, the motion needs to actually be read the way it is on the agenda, just
yes,
so the record's clear. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Thank you, Tom.
So, okay, let's see, okay. Then I move that we go into closed session to discuss a confidential written legal opinion that's subject to attorney-client privilege.
Okay, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. Trustee Sherry, I'll pick you. There was 3 seconds. Trustee Yu, can you please do a roll call vote?
Trustee Bartlett.
Aye.
Trustee Chakuri.
Aye. Yes.
Oh, Trustee Yu froze. Trustee Yu, if you
Trustee Crawford.
Okay.
Yes.
Trustee Dooley.
Yes.
Trustee Mishner.
So I'm not sure if this is the part where discussion happens or if I vote first. In order for me to say yes or no, I'd like more clarification as to why. I see that it's a legal opinion, but I have no idea what I'm going into closed session for. So I don't feel prepared. In the past, we've received an inter-office envelope and had some understanding of what we were going in for. So I just, for my own understanding and
Sure. There's Tom, can you help me a little bit with some clarification? I want to make sure that I don't misstep. I want to be clear.
Well, so through the chair, you can't really talk about what the legal opinion is about because that's part of the confidentiality issue.
Okay.
And I assume that your counsel is going to present a letter at the closed session and, Trustee Mitchell, if you're not comfortable voting to go into closed session, you can vote no.
Sure, I understand my rights. Thank you so much. The reason why I ask is because in the past, and that's why I said this, I've received an inter-office envelope that gave me some understanding of what I was going to do.
I understand.
Does that make sense? You probably heard me say I would vote no.
And I'm not the attorney who's going to be in closed session, so I can't even speak to what's in it. So
that's fair. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So I'm going to vote no.
Okay, thank you. We have to do a roll call vote, but I appreciate that. So I might have you go on record again since we're doing a roll call, if that's okay, Trustee Mishner.
But were you calling for her vote when she asked the question?
They were.
I think you were.
Oh, okay, all right.
You were doing the roll call. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I got a little confused. Thank you. Sorry, Trustee Mishner.
It's okay.
Trustee Wood?
Yes.
Trustee Yu? Yes.
All right. So for the public, just so you know, we're going into
Oh,
closed session.
I think you missed Trustee Bartlett.
Trustee
No,
Bartlett.
I just had a question for Mr. Schultz through the president.
Yes.
Does she, for the purposes of the Opens Meeting Act, does she have to state we don't intend to return?
I do not know if you don't intend to return. So
But if we don't intend to return, she should say it, correct?
Well,
well, you need to return. You're going to return to adjourn the meeting. That's the
Correct.
way your agenda is set up. I don't know if you're going to do any action.
Right.
Okay, so
thank you.
Yep.
So right now we're going into closed session, and then we will be back. All right. Thank you. Yes, Trustee Sherkuri.
So does that mean I close this Zoom call?
That
Or-
is, Director Farkas sent out. closed session and reopen the public session. Do I have a motion for that?
I move that we end the board's closed session.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Tori, can you do the roll call vote, please?
Yep. Trustee Bartlett,
Yes.
Trustee Chakuri,
Yes.
Trustee Crawford,
Yes.
Trustee Dooley,
Yes.
Trustee Mishner, Trustee Wood,
Yes.
Trustee Yu, yes.
Okay, motion carried. At this point, does anyone have any other motions that they need to make? Trustee Crawford.
I'd like to make a motion or move to authorize interim President Dooley to proceed in accordance with the decision in closed session.
All right, is there a second? Trustee Bartlett seconds. Tori, can you do a roll call vote?
Yep.
If there's no
Trustee-
further discussion, sorry. Oh, sorry, Tom, go ahead. There's no
Yeah.
discussion, right? Because it was closed session.
Right. I guess I'd just like to talk about the word decision as part of that motion.
Oh,
If
Okay.
we don't make decisions in closed session, so the recommendation perhaps would be a better word.
I concur. So let's change decision to recommendation
Great.
from closed session.
Thank you.
okay. Trustee Bartlett. Okay. Go ahead, Tori, sorry.
Trustee Bartlett,
Aye.
Trustee Chakuri,
Aye.
Trustee Crawford,
Yes.
Trustee Dooley,
Yes.
Trustee Mishner,
Yes.
Trustee Wood,
Yes.
Trustee Yu, yes.
All right, motion carries. At this time, with no further business, can I entertain a motion to adjourn? Oh, Trustee Mishner.
I present a motion to adjourn.
I
Thank
second
you.
that.
Trustee Yu seconds it. Okay, Trustee Yu, you have to do a roll call again.
Trustee Bartlett,
Aye.
Trustee Chakuri, I will get this one day.
Aye.
Trustee Crawford,
Yes.
Trustee Dooley,
Yes.
Trustee Mishner,
Yes.
Trustee Wood,
Yes.
Trustee Yu, yes.
All right. Motion carries. The meeting is now closed. Thank you, everybody.
Everybody have a good night.
Good week.
Have a good night.